Are you tired of feeling left behind in a world that seems to revolve around reading? You're not alone. Today, we're tackling a challenge many face but few discuss openly: how to read when you hate reading. Let's explore 5 unconventional tips that go beyond the usual advice, diving into the psychology and neuroscience behind reading aversion. Tip 1. Hack your brain's reward system. Reading aversion often stems from a lack of dopamine release during the activity. Unlike scrolling through social media or playing video games, reading doesn't provide instant gratification. But what if we could change that? Start by creating a personalized reward system. For every 20 pages you read, allow yourself a small treat, perhaps a piece of dark chocolate or 5 minutes of your favorite music. This isn't just about bribing yourself, it's about rewiring your brain's neural pathways. Studies in neuroplasticity show that consistent pairing of an activity with a reward can alter our brain's response to that activity over time. Dr. Robert Sapolsky's research on dopamine and reward-seeking behavior suggests that anticipation of a reward can be as powerful as the reward itself. Take it a step further by gamifying your reading experience. Apps like Habitica or Streaks allow you to turn reading into a quest-like experience, complete with level-ups and achievements. This taps into the same psychological mechanisms that make video games addictive, but channels that energy into reading. Remember, the goal isn't to rely on external rewards forever. As you build the habit, the act of reading itself will become more rewarding. You're essentially training your brain to associate reading with pleasure. Tip 2. Embrace the power of micro-reading sessions. The idea that reading requires long, uninterrupted sessions is a myth that's holding you back. Enter the concept of micro-reading, short bursts of focused reading that fit seamlessly into your day. Start with just 2 minutes. It sounds ridiculously short, but there's science behind this approach. The Zeigarnik effect, named after psychologist Bluma Zeigarnik, suggests that we remember uncompleted tasks better than completed ones. By intentionally leaving your reading session unfinished, you create a psychological itch to return to it. Use the dead time in your day, waiting for coffee, standing in line, or during commercials, for these micro-sessions. Keep a book, physical or digital, always within reach. Over time, increase the duration of these sessions gradually. This approach aligns with the concept of habit stacking, introduced by James Clear in his book Atomic Habits. Attach your micro-reading sessions to existing habits. For example, read for 2 minutes right after brushing your teeth or before checking your phone in the morning. The beauty of micro-reading lies in its ability to overcome the initial resistance to starting. Once you begin, you'll often find yourself reading for longer than intended. It's about building momentum and consistency rather than duration. Tip 3. Redefine what counts as reading. One of the biggest obstacles for reading-averse individuals is the narrow definition of what constitutes reading. It's time to expand that definition and embrace unconventional formats. Audiobooks are an obvious alternative, but let's go beyond that. Graphic novels and comics aren't just for kids. They're legitimate forms of literature that can tackle complex themes. Art Spiegelman's Moz, for instance, explores the Holocaust through a graphic format, proving that visual storytelling can be as profound as traditional prose. Consider interactive fiction or choose your own adventure stories. These engage different parts of your brain, making the reading experience more active and participatory. Apps like Lifeline blend storytelling with game mechanics, creating a unique reading experience. Podcasts that dive deep into book summaries or literary analysis can serve as a bridge to full books. They provide context and excitement that might be missing when you approach a book cold. Don't overlook the power of reading aloud, even to yourself. This engages multiple senses and can make the experience more immersive. It's a technique used in speed reading courses to improve comprehension and retention. Remember, the goal is to build a reading habit, not to conform to someone else's idea of what reading should look like. As you explore these alternative formats, you may find yourself naturally gravitating towards traditional books over time. Tip 4. Leverage social pressure and accountability. Humans are inherently social creatures, and we can use this to our advantage when building a reading habit. Create a reading accountability group with friends or join an online community focused on reading goals. But let's take this a step further. Instead of a traditional book club, which can feel intimidating for reluctant readers, start a chapter club. Meet virtually or in person to discuss just one chapter at a time. This breaks the task into manageable chunks and provides regular social interaction around reading. Utilize social media platforms creatively. Start a one-sentence review challenge where you and your friends post a single-sentence review of what you've read each day. This not only holds you accountable but also helps you practice summarizing and critical thinking. Consider using apps like Goodreads or Storygraph not just to track your reading, but to create public challenges for yourself. The fear of public failure can be a powerful motivator. However, be cautious not to let this turn into a source of stress or comparison. For a more intense approach, try reading sprints with a partner. Set a timer for 15 minutes and read simultaneously, then briefly discuss what you've read. This creates a sense of shared experience and urgency. Remember, the key is to make reading a social activity without turning it into a competition. The goal is support and motivation, not stress and comparison. Tip 5. Embrace the art of strategic skimming. Here's a controversial tip. You don't have to read every word to benefit from a book. Strategic skimming is a skill that can make reading less daunting and more efficient. Start by perfecting the art of previewing. Before diving into a book, spend 10 minutes flipping through it. Read the table of contents, chapter summaries, and section headings. This creates a mental map of the book's structure, making the actual reading less overwhelming. Learn to identify key sentences. Typically, the first and last sentences of paragraphs often contain the main ideas. Train yourself to quickly scan for these, then decide if the paragraph warrants a closer read. Use the third time charm rule. Skim a section once, then go back and skim it again, focusing on different elements. On the third pass, read more closely. This method, inspired by speed reading techniques, allows your brain to build context before deep diving. Don't be afraid to skip sections that don't interest you or seem less relevant. This isn't cheating, it's reading with purpose. As you become more comfortable with this approach, you'll likely find yourself naturally reading more thoroughly. Incorporate active reading techniques even while skimming. Use a pencil or your finger to guide your eyes, make marginal notes, or underline key phrases. This physical engagement can help maintain focus and improve retention. Remember, the goal is to extract value and build a reading habit, not to achieve some arbitrary standard of proper reading. As you become more comfortable with books, you may naturally transition to more thorough reading styles. Conclusion: building a reading habit when you hate reading isn't about forcing yourself through an unpleasant task. It's about reframing the experience, hacking your psychology, and finding unconventional approaches that work for you. Remember, every page you read is a victory. It's not about comparing yourself to others or meeting arbitrary standards. It's about personal growth and expanding your horizons, one word at a time. So, which of these strategies will you try first? The journey of 1,000 books begins with a single page. Your next chapter starts now.